Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Sophie Cunningham lets the proverbial cat out of the bag with earth-shattering news about Caitlin Clark and her injury, with everything that has gone on in the WNBA with the Indiana Fever and all the tinfoil stuff. Now we have got to talk about this. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19, of course. If you are enjoying the content, please do me a favor and tap, smash, hit, click, whatever, that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you did subscribe, make sure you are still subscribed, because I get people telling me all the time they've been unsubscribed without doing it themselves. So anyway, I want to get into this a little bit. This is on her podcast. Sophie is asked about Caitlin Clark's status. Pay very, very close attention to what she says.
Is Caitlin close? How's she coming along?
Dude, I don't know. Everyone keeps asking. Everyone's like, and I'm like, literally, she doesn't even know. It's just like a day by day legit type of thing. And so, yeah, she's close, but like, you also have to remember, like, she could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA by now. But like at this level, with how deep and like how good people are nowadays in our league, which is the best it's ever been, like, you can't just be good. You have to be on top of your game. And so just trying to get her back in game shape, I think, is what they're trying to do. But like, again, it's literally a day by day. I'm not holding out any information. I just literally don't know.
Did you see Skip Bayless said that the WNBA is lying about her injury?
Maybe Caitlin Clark has taken a couple of injury breaks just because she needed a mental break from all the jealousy, all the resentment, all the on-court bullying, cheap shots she takes.
That's literally bullshit. No one's lying. When you're an elite level player, you not being able to play is the hardest part. It's when you're playing is like when it's a part of it. Like you're built for that. So when people say stuff like that, I'm just like, just
shut up.
Just shut it, bud.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. She said so much. Now, I've got to preface this with everybody knows I'm a Sophie Cunningham fan. Okay. But again, when I think there's something a little fishy or something that has to be criticized, I'm going to do it, even if it's going to lose out on subs. And to say nobody's lying with what we have seen these past 2 seasons with the WNBA, to say nobody is lying, that takes some cojones. So that takes some cojones, because we know that this league does a lot of lying. We know Kathy Engelbert lies. We know Renee Montgomery lies. We know, oh my gosh, what's her face in Washington, the Mystics owner. We know she lies. We know Kathy Engelbert lies. We know Angel Reese lies, and Asia Wilson lies. Lots of the players lie. The media lies. They all lie. They've all lied so many times. So to say that nobody's lying is absolutely absurd. But I gotta do this one more time. I won't play the whole thing. But I think let's go from here.
Type of thing. And so, yeah, she's close, but like, you also have to remember, like, she could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA by now. But like at this level, with how deep and like how good.
What the absolute F does that mean? She could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA, and then she goes on and talks about players being good.
People are nowadays in our league, which is the best it's ever been. Like, you can't just be good. You have to be on top of your game. And so just trying to get her back in game shape, I think.
So if you really listen to what she's saying, Caitlin Clark can play right now. Caitlin Clark is healthy. Caitlin Clark can play, but Caitlin Clark isn't Caitlin Clark yet because of the time off. Therefore, she's not playing, and we're going to say that she's hurt. There's so many ways to dig into this, but this is actually, I am surprised, because this was a couple of days ago, and I didn't get to it right away as like I wanted to. And I cannot believe this is not a big story, because this is huge. To say that she could play right now if it wasn't the W. So does that mean she could play if she was in Europe professionally? She could play if she was at Iowa right now, like that level she could. So you're telling me she's healthy to play competitive basketball, but they are holding her out because she wouldn't be. But the problem is that means she would never return because no player after a long layoff is the player they were before the layoff from the first minute they step back on the court. That's just the reality of it. That's the reality of the situation for any injured player. So like I'm trying to process this. I watch this, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I gotta do a video, and I'm still processing, and I'm trying to process as well while I'm talking to all of you in case something else pops and because I really want to hear what you think about it because I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. That's what it is. Because if I just take this on face value, Sophie Cunningham has admitted to me that Caitlin Clark's healthy and she could play right now. But they're not playing her because she won't be great. She'll only be good. Think about that for a second. Like, what does that even mean? Because she's not going to be great again in terms of game performance until she actually gets out and plays and gets some games under her belt and gets back to where she was pre-injury. That can't happen without games. That does not happen just practicing. So does that mean Caitlin Clark's never playing in the WNBA? Like, and I'm not saying that to, again, put on the tinfoil hat. I'm just saying, like, that's a logical question based on what Sophie Cunningham said. And when you look at everything we've seen with the WNBA in the last couple of years with Caitlin Clark, you actually have to ask that question. I mean, we saw just the other day, we still don't have a timeline. Then we've got being reported about a bone bruise from August 7th, which, I believe coincides with her coach actually stepping on her on the sideline of a game, and there was no reason for that. She's walking behind Caitlin Clark, so she knows Caitlin Clark is there. No way she should have stepped on her. But you're telling us it was a bone bruise, and then you're telling us it was she's not practicing yet, so she's just running, but then you're saying she did this during a defensive drill, but from what it sounds like that there was no one else involved. It's just maybe Caitlin Clark's doing defensive movements, right? Test the groin with that way, doing anyone who's played basketball, even, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, you probably did defensive drills where you all get down in your defensive stance and your coach says left or right or, back left, back right, and get you switching and going back and forward at 45-degree angles and slide to sides and all of that in terms of your defense. And if she's doing that and that she maybe, and that's when she did it, which is what Scotty Agatha said. And you don't get a bone bruise from that. You get a bone bruise from playing with people or, getting stomped on by your coach. So when you factor in all of these things, and then the two biggest Indiana Fever beat reporters said conflicting things about that. One saying it didn't affect the timeline at all, even though we're told there was no timeline, which is odd. And then the other said it was a setback and affected the timeline. So yeah, you can imagine that hearing this from Sophie Cunningham, people like me have questions, and I'm sure all of you have questions. What the hell do you mean that she could play right now if it wasn't the WNBA because we're so great? Which is what Sophie said, and I get her, she's pumping up the league, but that's a weird thing to say. That is a weird, very odd thing to say. And then that just kind of, I think was like a double down when she said that nobody was lying. And I'm not saying Skip Bayless was right, although at this point in time, it wouldn't surprise me if Caitlin Clark was like, you know what, I need a break. Like, I know I could return, but I need just a little more time off to just not deal with all of the crazy. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not saying Skip is right, but Skip is kind of like everybody else at this point. We're trying to figure out why Caitlin Clark is still out and why we don't know anything. And when that happens, you get questions, especially with a league like the WNBA. And Sophie, for me, just made it a million times worse by saying she could come back and play and she's good to go. Now, I know she's not the doctor and she's not the trainer, but Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham have conversations. You know that she sees Caitlin Clark every day and what she's capable of doing and not doing. So this to me was really wild, and I thought this would be a bigger story. So anyway, maybe y'all watching and hitting that like button will blow it up, and then we'll get it'll get some attention from some others and they'll make it a bigger story. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. What you think this means with Sophie Cunningham. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.